Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, or also good morning if you're watching us somewhere in America, or perhaps you're watching us the recording. So I'm here today with Helena. I'm really happy that Helena has agreed to come back on live with me. I've not scared her off. Actually, this topic is something that Helena did a post on last Friday, and it triggered some thinking in me as well as to some of the things that I've been hearing around. And so we thought it was really important to try and bring it up, especially in the context of we're coming into a recession or people are beginning to tighten their budgets. You're already seeing a lot of people laying off different, quite big layoffs in terms of staff. So we wanted to kind of bring up this topic as a kind of a contrast to that, really. So Helena, why don't you kind of introduce the topic as you see it and what your experience is?
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me again. It's nice to be here. But the topic that I want to discuss with you is around why is organizational issues and leadership issues not on the management team's agenda. I would like to stress that this is absolutely business critical in the times we are experiencing right now. And I can see that they're not on the agenda as they should be, because they're either delegated down to HR, which is not a problem if HR has the mandate and the budget to do something about it. But if we don't address these topics, it's going to create a problem when we go even deeper into the crisis, I would say.
Just explain a little bit as to what's important about it as you see it.
Yeah. In times of a crisis, where businesses are experiencing maybe a shorter demand for their services or their products, clients don't buy as much as they used to do. They're finding it hard to meet their financial targets and so on. One thing you can work on is actually to create an agile organization with empowered people who wants to contribute to the well-being of the business. But if we don't talk about it, and if we don't see what the problems might be in the organization we have today, how are we going to be able to create a more flexible and agile organization? We need to look at this. And this is something that top management needs to address more, is my experience at least.
Okay, so what you're saying is you believe there's a lack of focus at board level on what leadership is and how it's developing within the organization. So, what's actually happening with the employees, but also around the organizational side of it, what other things can we be doing in the context of what's going on around us? So these multiple contexts and these multiple issues that are happening to actually create an organization that's fit for purpose based on where we are today, not where we were 6 months ago.
No, that's true. And another point is actually that if we look at the last time we had a depression, that was back in 2008, which is 15 years ago. So there are, I would say, quite a lot of leaders or managers who have not handled a downturn in the financial area or in the economy. So do they have the skills and the tools to handle how we sort of manage our businesses when it comes to a depression? I'm not sure.
You're actually talking about having more support for leaders during this time and actually being able to put the processes in place to help them through not only the employee side of it, but actually how they manage their areas and what opportunities they can also create during times of crisis, because a problem always creates opportunities. Now, one of the things that you said quite clearly was quite often people issues are mandated down to HR. And what I'm hearing from you is actually usually HR doesn't necessarily have a seat at the board level. There are some CHROs and
not the board. Not the board level, but the executive team.
Okay, in the executive team.
Yeah.
So you're encouraging a greater level of oversight on these topics based on where we are today that potentially generally aren't happening.
Yeah. Yeah, for instance, we can see, like in America, where they talk about the Great Resignation, people are leaving companies in quite large amounts because they don't feel that they're accepted. They don't feel like they feel well and can contribute with their potential at work. And that is happening even before, that's after the pandemic. So I mean, that should be a quite big issue for management teams to handle and to discuss. So, what do we do about it? How can we create a workplace where people want to stay and want to contribute more than they do today?
Yeah, I'm chuckling because I had this experience the other day of having a conversation with a CEO about something, and him coming back and saying, "Well, this is something that my HR lady will deal with," and kind of passing me on, and you know, the trigger in my head was yes, and
Yeah.
we need a higher level of interest or like accountability here if you actually want to make these kind of changes.
Yeah.
And I'm also hearing that there's a movement towards trying to find efficiencies in the companies. And so they're actually reducing investment in, let's say, diversity, inclusion, all of these projects, if you want, that aren't yet integrated within their strategy. And actually, to me, this is not the place to reduce, because you've already got a low level of engagement. And reducing these kind of budgets will reduce your engagement levels further, unfortunately. And actually, if you're looking for efficiencies, you want to increase the efficiency of your biggest capital, which is your people. Your people are the ones that are bringing the most value. And therefore, if you only got 21% get engaged, like Gallup's latest stats show, actually imagine the benefit you can get if you can actually increase that to even 50%.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be an amazing efficiency boost when you're going into a recession. So I almost say it's almost like you need to counter it and invest more in these areas right now than potentially you did 6-12 months ago.
Yeah. And I mean, what could happen if we invited all our employees to contribute to how can we discuss we can handle the crisis? What can we do? I mean, there might be so many good ideas that never is coming forward because it's just the management team that discusses it. But to sort of spread the word in the organization and create space for people to contribute and being a part of the solution.
Yeah, in a controlled way that doesn't cause obviously more fear. And this is generally why people don't have these conversations. They're worried about like perpetuating fear within the organization. And so there do need to be some controls around it. But one of the things that I keep feeling is there's a lot of discussion potentially between the seniors as to this feels very uncomfortable. This is, a difficult time we're going into. And there's a lot of discussion in the lower levels. But actually, there's a big gap in between. And we need to kind of integrate that there are discussions where the leaders are sharing how they're feeling without causing panic within the organization, just to say, things are uncomfortable. I'm personally feeling quite uncomfortable with this, because this is where we create trust. We're not, it's about transparency. It's about showing up in what you're saying and what you're doing and bringing them together, aligning them. So that people can really see and feel what's going on within an organization. I know some organizations are now doing this, but there's still a massive gap in terms of what is happening and the opportunities that are there, even in times of crisis, to still build trust.
Yeah. And I think it actually could start to build an engagement and create more transparency if we create a safe space where we can talk about this, because I feel that everyone is going around being worried, being scared about what's happening, not knowing how to handle it, or what can I do? Is there anything I can do to contribute to a better world? And if we start talking about it, it doesn't matter on what level we are in the organization. We are humans. And if we can come together as humans and talk about this, I don't think it would actually create more panic or more fear. It would actually, hopefully, create more of a feeling that we're all the same. We can support each other. We can find solutions that makes us handle the situation here in our company, because we meet as people or as humans instead of just being on some kind of higher level in the management what do you call it, staircase or what you.
Yeah,
So,
it's about, about having eye-level conversations with people and about creating those conversations in a way that that is beneficial to all parties. And again, I keep saying this, that business has always gone too far at trying to be nice to people, which actually stifles people being engaged in terms of wanting to contribute, because they don't know how to have a courageous conversation and maybe disagree. But disagreement is part of how we create solutions, how we are innovative. If everyone agreed with everybody else, then actually somebody's not being honest.
No,
And
if we can see the differences, and if we can sort of understand each other from the differences, that can also create innovation, creativity, and helping us to find new solutions. And I would also say that it creates trust within the organization, because we meet in a bold, courageous conversation where we can see the empathy, we can see that, well, okay, we think differently, but we meet still on the same term here, on the same spot.
Yeah, I think again, this comes back to bringing in, or being able to hold multiple contexts at one time, and recognizing that you're not always going to have the answer. And there's almost something that I keep kind of coming back to, is always it's allowing us all to be a bit messy. We've been very perfect in business for a number of years, and everything wanting to be right or find the right answer or whatever. And actually, it's almost like we've got to allow it to be a little bit messy, because honestly, the world is a bit messy right now. So trying to pretend like it's anything else is actually going to be counterintuitive. But
I don't think anyone, sorry, but I don't think anyone has the right toolbox to handle the crisis, because this is a crisis we haven't experienced before. So that's another reason why we need to support each other, because the CEO or the managers, they don't know probably how to solve this situation. So we need to sort of come together and support each other in this situation we are in right now.
So from what you work a lot with teal organizations. I'm a B Corp, and I see a lot what's going on with B Corp organizations. But what would you say is kind of fundamentally different in those organizations that you work with in how they deal with this kind of crisis?
Right now, I'm not really sure if they are handling the crisis or dealing with it right now, but they need to do it. They need to start talking about it. And what I think is different when it comes to teal organizations is that you don't have the management team. You don't have any managers. So we need to come together, all the people in the organization, and talk about this, create forums for it, maybe on Slack, or if we have workshops, and talk about how we can deal with the situation from where we are. Because teal is about self-managing. It's about not having the managers there. Everyone is a leader, sort of, because we talk about self-leadership here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, within the B Corp structure, there's a lot around how we engage and motivate people, and also create structures that are, like you say, flatter. They're not completely flat, but at the same time very much around how you give back to the employees, how you give back to society as well, the investments that you're making. And I think this is going to be an interesting thought kind of as we go through, as to which companies are going to weather this crisis the best, and how have they actually set themselves up to to be in that space, a bit like you said earlier, to be agile, to be able to deal with what comes up. And I think this is where a lot of companies are going to struggle right now.
I think so too, and I don't think it's the right time to stick the head in the sand and think it's gonna blow over quite fast. I think this is gonna actually have a profound impact on us, and it might even change the way we run our businesses in the future. So we need to be aware. We need to look out there and see what's happening. How is this affecting us? And start having those bold conversations that you talk about.
Yeah, and to me, as you say that, it's like it brings the opportunity for new leadership, a new paradigm of leadership, a new and courageous form of leadership. Because there's not a lot that's changed over the last 30, 40 years in terms of leadership. In small shifts, but no real transformation. So, what would you say is your one tip from everything to the CEOs based on where we are today?
Start the conversation. Start looking out.
Quite simply.
No, but start looking out into the world and see, okay, so what is happening out there? How can this affect our business? And what do we need to handle the situation? Just start there and see what's happening, what will come out of it, and create time for reflection.
Yeah. So start doing the external, like looking at the external context and what's going on, but also doing the internal work within the business and getting a closer eye on what your leadership's doing, what support they need, and how you can help your employees through this. Because let's face it, everyone's struggling right now.
Yeah, we are. And you need to create a new strategy for this, because the old one is probably not going to work anymore.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Anything you'd like to say before we wrap up today? Anything we've missed?
Not really that I come to mind now. So no, I don't think so. I think we've talked about quite a lot of things here.
Good. Okay, thank you very much. And please, to everyone who's watching, to anyone who is listening to this broadcast, I encourage you to ask your questions. If there's a topic that you want to hear about that you don't feel is being spoken about either in your business or really at the global level, then let's hear your ideas. I'm working with Helena and we're also working with Tracy. We're more than happy to air space or create space to have these kind of conversations, because we know that if we can have them between ourselves, we're also creating the opportunity for you to maybe take some of what we're saying and use that within your business to create change. And that's really what this is all about. So thank you very much, Helena, for joining me today. And
having me.
We'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.